This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly entertainment podcast where this week we're going to look at upcoming releases, Identity Thief, and side effects. We're going to have a review of Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Our From the Outside In topic this week is why can't critics like popcorn flicks? Latest in movie and TV news as always, including our own trivia segments. And my name is Aaron Peterson. With me today are my fellow host, Scott Clark.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing a podcast. Justin McCumber.
Hey, Aaron, how are you and Scotty doing?
We're doing wonderful. And
how is Illinois?
Oh, Illinois is beautiful. There is no weather whatsoever. None.
It just started snowing today.
I know. And also Brian Williams.
Crickets.
Brian? Brian, you there? Oh, yeah. He bailed. He says he has a storm. Fucking pansy.
So Brian's streak of never missing a regular episode broken. I never want to hear that shit from him again.
We're going to get hate mail from Sue now. The show was great, except for, the lack of Brian.
Poor Brian.
Brian, wherever you are, we miss you, and we hope you and your trailer park don't get wiped off the map.
It's a twister, a twister.
Oh, wow. All right, well, real quick, did you guys see Evil Dead got an NC-17 rating originally, which, of course, now it has trimmed down to an R because otherwise it wouldn't get into theaters. And also,
you know what that means, though?
What's that?
The DVD will most likely have that NC-17 rating cut.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, that's awesome and all, but I don't get it. I was talking to Aaron about this earlier, and he told me that this is all publicity, to get people to see this. And from what you guys told me in the past, these movies make more money if they're at PG-13. So if it's going to be an R-rated movie, how is that going to help this?
Now, here's what they do. Okay, here's the real quick before we get to movie news. And the magic of movie marketing. If you've got a violent horror movie, they want to get buzz going. You get buzz by being, it's too graphic for theaters, so it's unrated, NC-17. We had to cut too bloody, got an NC-17. Cut it, get an R, get it in the theaters, and then, like Justin said, you sell the unrated cut when the Blu-ray DVD comes out. You make millions. More than you would have, because everybody wants, I want to see that extra minute or a few seconds or whatever that they cut out. I'm guilty. I'll do it. I jump at it, even though I know they're pulling my strings like a puppeteer. I'm fine with it.
So it has nothing to do with the actual theater numbers. It's going to affect more the DVD.
It's
and
the
Blu-ray
DVD
sales.
and Blu-ray sales.
Okay,
yeah. They're not dumb. They do this with every major horror movie. Gotcha. Wouldn't you agree, Justin? I mean, pretty much. I mean, the big scary horror movies this happens with.
Well, you got to generate interest however you can, and sometimes hey, we made a movie so heinous, so bloody, so gory, so scary, it almost couldn't be shown in theaters. That's a pretty good marketing spiel to put out there. But, a movie like this was never going to go PG-13 anyway. So, that was never a factor.
And they also pushed the date up 1 week.
Which is so rare.
Yeah.
It's usually pushed back. Right?
It's always pushed back. So that's actually a good sign. They're capitalizing on the marketing. They're wanting to get it out sooner. As Bruce Campbell said, as the world demanded, we're coming out a week earlier. So April 5th, look for Evil Dead. Okay, this is news that makes Justin squee a little bit. Bryan Singer, who's now signed on for X-Men Days of Future Past, has signed Anna Paquin, Shawn Ashmore, and Ellen Page, and already has Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman for X-Men Days of Future Past. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because it seems like it's becoming an old X-Men movie, not a first-class movie.
Well, because it is a movie that's going to take place in the future, if these characters weren't in it, it would be odd. I mean, you can't have, and apparently they're trying to create a chronology between that original X-Men cast and the present day. They already kind of did it a little bit with Hugh Jackman showing up in the first movie, but they're going to really cement it with this movie. If these characters hadn't been in it, it would have been more awkward and strange than having them in it. What's really kind of odd, though, is how it seems, at least right now, how few of the cast from the first class have actually been signed on to be in this movie. And, this kind of creates a little discussion about, well, is Bryan Singer really just trying to make another X-Men movie as opposed to a first class, an early X-Men movie? Is he just trying to do X-Men 4, just changing the name? I don't think so. I'm sure the cast that was in the first one that they want to be in the second, this new one will. But I'm glad to see that they're hiring all these people from the earlier Bryan Singer movies to be in it, it creates a nice sense of continuity and a through line that sometimes you might not have gotten otherwise. So I think it's good.
My gut feeling with this story is that what they're going to do is incorporate it into the bigger story, where the first class group is going to travel through time for whatever reason. I think they're just going to come into all these guys in the same time. Like, it's going to be a couple scenes. It's not going to be a large portion of the movie. That's what I think it's going to be.
Probably not. And they've said that all the things that are going to be taking place will be after the third X-Men movie, The Last Stand. So who knows who's going to be showing up in that. It's kind of strange that Anna Paquin, God, I sounded Southern saying that, Anna Paquin's going to be in it, given that she gave up her powers in the third film by taking that drug that removed her mutant abilities. Maybe the part of that story is she'll be getting them back somehow. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Well, what about the other two, Shawn Ashmore and Ellen Page? I know Ellen Page was the one that...
She played Kitty Pryde, and Shawn Ashmore played Iceman.
And Iceman, I think, was mildly prominent, but Ellen Page seemed like a very minor role in those.
Yeah, she was pretty minor. She had more to do in the third one. I don't even know if she was in... I don't think she was in the first or second movies. No, she...
No,
was she in the second one?
No, she was just in the third one.
I thought it was just the third, too, yeah.
Yeah, so she had a very minor part, but her character, Kitty Pryde, is a major X-Men character, so it wouldn't surprise me. Plus, with her now being a much higher profile actress, it wouldn't shock me at all if Kitty Pryde had a much larger role, equivalent to the other X-Men.
Plus, wasn't there like a love interest between Rogue and Iceman? There
was a whole thing with Rogue, Iceman, and Ellen Page's character where Rogue thought Iceman and Kitty Pryde were forming a relationship, and because they had these abilities and she doesn't, what's that going to mean? Who knows? It's kind of mutant Twilight bullshit.
All right, well, director Brad Bird's top secret film project, we talked about a couple weeks ago, that was known as 1952, has officially been titled as Tomorrowland. What the hell is this thing about?
Honestly, it's still unclear at this point. What happened was Brad Bird and is it Damon Lindelof? Is that his first name?
Yes, Damien Lindelof.
Damien, not Damon. The guy that is a writer on Lost. It feels kind of nice talking about Lost like getting yelled at, doesn't it?
You're right. It's Damon. I'm sorry.
It is Damon. Look at that. Yes. I did something right.
Nice job, Scott. Right. I would high five you, but it's beneath me.
It's
even a low five.
So what happened is these two guys have been tweeting little teasers on Twitter. Pictures. They basically posted a picture of a suitcase that had all this just random junk that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But what's interesting in that is among some of that junk is a copy of the 1928 edition of Amazing Stories magazine, which apparently is the first ever appearance of Buck Rogers. So people are thinking that might be a clue as to what that's going on there. So
I didn't know that.
I thought that was kind of interesting. But and for those of you that aren't familiar with Brad Bird, I wasn't super familiar like these guys are. But his pedigree includes movies like The Incredibles, The Iron Giant, and more recently Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. So I don't know a whole great deal about Buck Rogers, but just from the shots of the suitcase and
there's a shot floating around now where it looks like a future world, but not. I don't know if it's a theme park.
It is a theme park.
Yeah,
they're actually in the process of building that theme park down at Disney. So this is on the cusp of being something huge, but they're doing a pretty good job of keeping the specific details under wraps right now.
Yeah, they are.
So it sounds really interesting, but because Buck Rogers was a time traveler.
Isn't it amazing how suckers we are? It sounds really interesting. What do you know? Nothing.
Yeah.
We know the title now. Oh, we know the title. Yay. Paul Giamatti has been cast as the Rhino. There's a couple casting news. Paul Giamatti was cast as Rhino for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Eva Green is officially the title character in Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For. I said that all Sin City-like. A Dame to Kill For.
Yeah, that's what you did. Of all of the rogues gallery that Spider-Man has, why go with the Rhino?
I don't even know what that character is.
Well, he's a B-level character at best, and he's usually drawn being this big beefy guy in a gray outfit with kind of like a rhino thing horn on his fucking forehead.
That sounds cheesy as hell.
It's a ridiculous looking character. Now, these movies can take these characters and their costumes and redo them in such a way that they are more interesting in a thematic sort of way than a straight translation. So there's always the possibility that it could look a lot cooler. I mean, Doc Ock in the comic books I always thought looked rather ridiculous, but in Spider-Man 2, it actually was a rather cool looking outfit. Can they do the same for the Rhino? I don't know, but Paul Giamatti is an actor of amazing talent and gravitas, so having him on board to play the character is a good sign. I thought they did a pretty good job with the Lizard in the first Amazing Spider-Man, so I'm not ready to write him or that character off yet. I'll be interested, though, in seeing what they do with it, because the Rhino is a mercenary who had this armor permanently bonded onto his body to give him extra strength and speed. I'll be curious to see how they do that and how they have it translate on the screen. As far as Ava Green goes, though, kudos. She's an amazingly beautiful woman, and for that character if it's interesting, her name is Ava Green, and the character she's going to be playing is Ava. So I'm pretty sure she's not going to have any trouble responding to people calling her by her character's name. But that character is a beautiful femme fatale. It's only appropriate that
otherwise she's too stupid to remember it.
Well, I mean, I know if I'm on set and people are calling me by, my character's name, I might not immediately recognize. Oh, you're talking to me? But anyway, she didn't. She would not have to.
But if they called you Bustin', then you're good. Maybe. Well, I don't know.
Bustin'?
I'm not quite sure where to take that joke.
Because Dustin is a real name.
Dustin's too easy.
Easier.
Let's go with Bustin'. Bustin'. Yeah. Bustin' Lacumber.
Anyway, she's in Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, playing the title role. Ava, who is that Dame to Kill For. She's beautiful. The character is beautiful. She is a fantastic actress. So, hell yeah. Really good for Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller. Good casting. Apparently, though, they had been trying to get Angelina Jolie. Shit, I think Ava Green's a much better call.
I actually agree with that. I think Angelina Jolie would have been great 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and she's got far too much career baggage and name baggage to kind of bring along. It's nice to get an actor involved who doesn't come with all of these ideas and the past and the news just kind of hanging from them. It's harder to see past all that to see the character they're portraying.
Plus, her lips are getting bigger. I swear.
Yeah. Well, and you can't really have a bunch of characters wanting to kill for a mother of 12.
Yeah.
That just is not...
Well, I don't think that's true, but I think it's more just her persona is bigger now than her acting talent to a large degree.
Just to back up for 1 second on The Amazing Spider-Man, I know nothing about the character of the Rhino.
It's a weak character.
But with that said, I loved Paul Giamatti as a villain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
In Shoot 'Em Up, he was great. I want to see him more as a bad guy.
I'll be honest with you. As a huge follower, everybody knows that's my favorite comic book of all the comic book movies. That's my favorite. And the character came up. That's the last one I wanted them to do because it's the weakest comic book. I'd rather have them do Magneto or some shit or
Magneto.
Throw Magneto
Electro or something.
I'm throwing Magneto into or Electro. Thank you. I'd rather them stick with that. Keep Rhino the fuck out. I don't know why I said Magneto.
Now hold on, aren't they doing Electro?
Yes, they are. No, I'm saying I
Jamie-
want them to stick with just that.
Right,
Leave Rhino out of it. But then I heard that Paul Giamatti's going to do it. Now suddenly I'm interested. I wasn't interested with Rhino. That's just because they're already going to have Harry Osborn in there. They're going to have Electro. They don't need another character. But Paul Giamatti, anything he does it usually impresses me. So I give him credit. And Ava Green or whatever she wants to call herself. Fantastic choice. I don't like to say fantastic because I think it's too exuberant, but she's perfect for that role, I think. Mm-hmm. Okay, now there's a little piece of news came out. It came out last week, but obviously
kind of flew under that radar.
It did. Nobody's really talking about it, so we thought we'd bring it up because we're the Hollywood Outsider. That's what we do. We make sure you know what's going on. J.J. Abrams, he did the Star Trek movie, Super 8. He did Mission Impossible 3. Nobody saw that shit. But he's going to helm the next Star Wars film, Episode 7. I don't know if you've heard of this, but isn't there some law about Star Trek and Star Wars crossing? Like you can't do that? That's what I keep hearing.
I think back in the days of old, that was probably a line that would have been more hesitantly crossed than it is now. Yeah. the squee that went up when it was made official that J.J. Abrams was going to be directing this new Star Wars movie. I'm surprised that there weren't news reports of it around the globe when I just squeed with delight. I think the only director that I would have passed out had I had it confirmed would have been Joss Whedon. J.J. Abrams is a director of, in my opinion, amazing talent. People can make all the lens flare fucking jokes that they want. Make them. I don't give a shit. The guy has got talent just oozing from every pore. He's made some of the best television I've ever seen. His Star Trek film was incredible. Super 8 was fantastic. Everything I've seen of Star Trek Into Darkness looks magnificent. So the fact that this guy, who has talked repeatedly in the past about how much of a Star Wars fan that he is and how much it influenced him, to now be given the reins to take over Episode 7 is, for me, some of the best news I ever could have heard. I was so afraid that they were going to bring in some hack to do this movie, and not because the hack would have been willing to do it, but because so many people might not have been willing to do it. Star Wars, we were talking about Angelina Jolie having a lot of baggage. Star Wars, has its own baggage, whether you're talking about the prequels or Ewoks or whatever else. There's, as much as there's love for Star Wars out there, there's also a lot of jokes and a lot of derision, and all that results in baggage that I was afraid was going to put off a lot of quality directors. I was afraid they would look at it and say, yeah, I don't know if I want to step into that particular, wrestling ring of Jello. That might just be a little too much for me to want to deal with. J.J. Abrams has stepped up and he's going to do it, and that makes me incredibly pleased. What also makes me happy, though, is that he's only been confirmed for one movie. I'm really kind of hoping that they're going to go with the model of the previous, the original trilogy, but there's going to be a different director for each of the episodes, so that it's not just one person's directorial vision through the whole thing, but bringing in a host of talent to oversee this. And, the writer of Episode 5, Lawrence Kasdan, he said he's going to be on as a consultant, which was arguably the most popular Star Wars movie of them all, Empire Strikes Back. There's a lot of people involved. They're quality people. I could not be happier about this. I can't. I honestly cannot wait to see this film.
It was I was out of town, and I was actually near Starbucks, and I swear, the internet cafe basically in Starbucks almost turned into a back room of a porn store. I mean, just nerds. I mean, they were actually talking about it in Starbucks. So I mean, they're pretty pumped.
Yeah,
I would love for this to put Star Wars back where it belongs, and where it belongs is at the top of geek nerd culture. It used to, and then those fucking prequels got so much flack and so much hate and became such a joke that Star Wars kind of became a bit of a joke. And that it hurt me no end, because it means so much to me. And to see it just reduced to this Jar Jar punchline just killed me. Hopefully this will erase a lot of that baggage and return it, give it some of its cachet back, some of its clout. It deserves it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I can't think of hardly anybody that I would rather have instead of J.J. Abrams, outside of maybe Joss Whedon or something like that. But I even think Joss Whedon would bring a little bit too much of his own.
I actually don't want Joss Whedon in this world.
Right.
Sorry, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. But
he's too on the nose, and I just the way he writes and whatnot, I just don't think it fits the Star Wars.
That's what
universe.
I'm saying. J.J. Abrams to me is perfect. Star Trek jokes aside, doing both of them, may the Force live long and prosper with you, whatever. But it's I cannot wait to see the first screenshot or something, just to see what it looks like. We don't even know actors or anything at this time, but I'm beyond excited to see. Like Justin said, I feel like it's breathing life back into a franchise that I loved since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I cannot wait.
We'll see what happens. Because of this announcement, Disney has stated that they plan to, originally they stated that they were going to cancel the 3D releases that were planned for later this year in October of episodes 1 episodes 2 and 3 to focus on episode 7.
I think this is a complete mistake. It's free marketing for episode 7. Granted, you don't need a whole lot of marketing to get people excited to see Star Wars episode 7. These movies would still make money in the theater. I did not pay money to go see episode 1, but there's a reason for that. It was episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one that I loved. I watch it whenever I watch the series religiously, but it's not anybody's favorite, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars movie. Episode 2, could you imagine?
It's my son's favorite. It really is.
Oh, yeah? He just wants to be different?
Well, that's the first one he saw.
Okay. That's fair enough. But episode 2, again, not one of my favorite ones, but some of those sequences towards the end with the battle would look gorgeous on the big screen in 3D. I think that would be amazing. Episode 3, one of my favorites it's my favorite of the new trilogy anyway. I want to see that in the theater again. That kind of stuff, I think it's a mistake to not do those.
And they had originally said that they canceled it. Then they backpedaled and changed the press release, and now it says that they postponed it. And the thing that and I know some people are a fan of this, some people aren't. I think Justin, he's cool with it. He did see episode 1 in 3D in the theater. I understand that. But for me personally, and I'm not a fan of the original trilogy at all. I only like the third movie. I didn't like the first two. I thought they sucked. The last one, episode 3, I thought was pretty good, but it definitely, I didn't consider it a Star Wars movie.
You mean the prequels, not the original trilogy?
The prequels. But there's a lot of people I know that were really excited about taking their kids to it. They went and saw episode 1 when it came out. It made well over $100 million, worldwide. There's money in it. I can't help, and they're trying to sell it as so they can focus on episode 7. The conversion, from what I've heard from Lucasfilm before this happened, the conversion was already complete. The equipment was bought. So basically, once the equipment's bought, it's not hard to do. But from what Lucasfilm actually talked about months ago, the conversion was complete back in sometime last fall. I can't even remember the press release. But this sounds to me like they're trying to make sure Lucasfilm Fox doesn't get any more money. That's what it sounds like to me. Because Fox has the rights for the original trilogy and the prequels. Mm-hmm. So anytime that hits the theater, they make money off it, not Disney.
Oh.
And that's my personal belief. It's not a fact or anything else. But what they're selling to fans, they're trying to get out of it by selling it to fans that, hey, this is so we can make the movie you want. So it's okay. And a lot of fans are fine with that. They're excited about, well, if that's going to get my movie, which I understand. But it's bullshit. Total bullshit. I don't buy it for 1 second.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. Justin, what's your take on this? You haven't we've been talking about Star Wars and you haven't talked for like 6 minutes. It's kind of weird.
Because I personally, I don't give a shit. I'm sure they would look pretty. I didn't really think about the whole issue of Fox distributing and therefore making the money, Disney not making the money on these releases. Were there people who were interested and really anxious to see these? Sure. Was I one of them? Yeah, I mean, I saw the first one. I'd go and see the second and the third one back in theaters on 3D. I think there would have been a lot of opportunities for that to look really cool. Do I feel like I've been cheated or something? I'm so overjoyed with the idea of new Star Wars, especially new Star Wars directed by a man that I highly respect. The idea of not getting a 3D-ified version of old stuff, just it can't pierce that joy. It doesn't matter. I've got my sights set on new. I can't really be bothered about old. And I understand there are people though who are upset. I feel bad if you're one of them. I'm certainly not going to take away from anyone's frustration or anger. You have a complete right to feel it, but I want new shit. I'm tired of re-releases of stuff. They have promised me new stuff. I want my new stuff. That's where I'm going to focus my efforts.
I want it now.
I want it.
My argument is just this wouldn't affect the release of Episode 7 in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think so either.
No, it's just a matter of, personally, that's what I think it is. I think it's the Fox.
If any, it would be a positive.
No studio buys a studio and wants the other studio to make money. That's just common business sense.
Yeah.
Well, but isn't it also common business sense that if you can get advertising or something that's going to generate interest in your brand or product, then you're going to do that? I mean, if these films would have honestly done that, I can't see Disney cutting off their nose to spite their face. saying fuck you to Fox, and then therefore in doing that, cutting off potential advertising for episode 7. I mean, imagine if they had released, because they were going to do all 6 films.
That was the original
Not just
plan.
the 3. They were going to do all 6. Could you imagine at the re-release of Return of the Jedi a fucking trailer for episode 7?
Brilliant.
That would have, they would have generated probably millions of dollars just on that. So I can't imagine that Disney would have cut themselves off from that money if there wasn't some kind of good reasoning that we haven't been made aware of. If it is purely just a fuck Fox, we don't want them making any money, that's incredibly selfish and short-sighted. I hope that there's something more to it than that. Who knows what new info will come out in the days and weeks ahead.
Well, because studios do things based on the love of the fans. That's
Yeah.
Well, it's not about the love of the fans. It's about the money they could have generated, maybe not through those films being released, but by the furor generated over having that trailer to go and generating interest for their movie.
Well, we'll see. I will tell you that since fans kind of caused some backlash on it, they changed it from postpone or canceled to postpone. So they'll be coming out now, and I think that's strictly because of the fans.
Well, that was my question.
And I don't want to go on too long on this, but
because Justin, you'll answer this better than me. There is a DVD or Blu-ray version of Phantom Menace now, 3D, right? Is that correct?
No,
that didn't
no.
happen.
no, it didn't come out.
No, not yet.
Okay, so I wonder if that's a done thing now. Now that
Oh, I'm sure the home video rights are different. The way it's laid out is different than it is because Lucasfilm controls a lot more when it comes to home video than it does theatrical distribution.
Okay.
So I have no problem thinking that they're going to throw out the 3D versions on Blu-ray and stick them in homes.
okay.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park.
As you're well aware, Brian's not here, so Scotty and I are going to take over. Scott, what's our first trailer?
From the writer of The Hangover and The Hangover 2 comes, you guessed it, the junior version of pretty much the same film. 21 and over follows Jeff Chang, a promising medical student who turns 21 years old the night before a big exam. His 2 best friends convince him that on his 21st birthday he has to have the night of his life, and hilarity ensues as Jeff does what typical 21-year-olds do and get completely wasted, and the night of debauchery begins. Now, Aaron, you're further away from 21 than any of us. Does this seem like a way you want to go back to the theater and relive your youth?
Your ute?
I'm going to cry. Nice job, Scott. Golf clap. Golf clap. Yes, I thought the trailer looked stupid the first time I saw it, and then I came and watched it again because I saw it in the theater, and then I came and watched it again. It looks really funny. I mean, it looks stupid as all hell, but so did The Hangover before that came out, and The Hangover, and this looks much better.
Yeah, it looks really funny. It's cleaving so close to the first one that if it was written by someone else, you just would laugh it off as a ripoff. But
Yeah, pretty much.
that doesn't mean it's still not going to be funny as fuck.
No, and there's a scene where they throw a Chinese guy off a balcony onto a covered pool, and he just bounces into the street. I couldn't stop laughing.
I laughed at the very last shot where they're like, he's like, get down now, and he starts dancing. The guy's like, he's doing pretty much what you told him.
What you told him.
He's like doing the robot on top of a van. I laughed out loud when I saw that. It looks hilarious.
Okay.
This would be day one for me. I love seeing this kind of movie in a big crowded theater. What about you, Justin?
I'm probably with you.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not going to go to the theater to see it because I'm afraid I would have to sit around a bunch of 21-year-olds to see it, and I have neither the patience nor the desire to sit amongst that many 21-year-olds. So it'll be a home viewing for me, but I will definitely see it because it does look incredibly funny.
And I didn't expect it to be. When I saw the first shot on the clip that I saw it on, I was like, oh, this is going to be dumb. And I thought it's hilarious.
When's it come out?
It comes out on March 1st, so not too far away.
Okay. Our next film is from Antoine Fuqua.
Sounds like a Muslim.
He is a Muslim. Antoine Fuqua, he's a director. Basically, what this is, Gerald Butler, however you want to call him, he's a former Secret Service agent that comes to work to save the president when the president gets taken over in the White House. The president in this film is played by Aaron Eckhart. So, what do you think about this, Justin? Is this something you want to see? You want to see Aaron Eckhart get saved by Gerald Butler?
All right, Vern. Actually, this movie looks like shit. To me, it looks so tired and cliched. The former agent is now the only one there who can turn the tide and save the president. I mean, Jesus, how often has that been done? How often has, the former cop been the only one on the scene that can stop the bad guy from doing whatever it is they're doing? It's been done forever. It's now the president, so that's a little different, but I like the people who were involved in the acting of it, but the story itself just seems tired, boring, been there, done that. I really have almost zero level of interest in seeing this. It's purely paint by numbers action film.
My favorite part of the trailer is when, he's basically, he contributed to something that cost the president his wife in an accident early on. That's how it's in the trailer. And then later on, he's trying to reclaim himself and come back and save the president. Then you hear Angela Bassett, who's a great actress, do that line that's in every cheesy action movie from the 80s. Well, he was in Special Ops, whatever the fuck it is.
No, I got you beat. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Well, yes. Get off my
kept waiting
plane.
for somebody to sit up and go, I'm just too old for this shit.
I actually disagree. I think this one looks like it's one I want to see in the theater, believe it or not. Obviously, they flash on it that's from the makers of Independence Day, and I definitely got that vibe from it. A little bit of Air Force One, but not quite as cheesy. I'm also one of those that likes disaster movies that take place close to home. Obviously, I don't live in Washington, but when you see planes flying around the Washington Monument and crashing into it, that kind of stuff excites me. I mean, like Independence Day when they blew up the White House and all this kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want to go see on a big screen. This is a dumbed down popcorn movie, whatever you want to call it. It's one I want to see in a theater.
Then just go watch 24. They've already done this.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so much cooler because they beat the shit out of random innocent people. I'm cool with that. There's two of these White House taking over movies coming out. The other one is I can't remember the name of it. It's Olympus Has Fallen. White House Down. Thank you.
Isn't that like Taylor Lautner? Or
Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx. That's the one I want to see. This one looks good, but Gerard Butler. Every time I see him, he's got that lip that doesn't seem to go in the right place, and Aaron Eckhart seems like he's playing the same guy from Dark Knight. I mean, there's nothing really gripping me in it. It seems like a generic action flick. So I'll wait for White House Down.
All right.
Okay, well, you can watch these trailers and know from recent episodes at thehollywoodoutsider.com. If you got any thoughts or topics ideas, I can't keep going. You go ahead, Scott. Yours accent's much better.
It is.
Also, you can get yourself an I'm a Ho t-shirt, which are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com. If you'd like, you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is H_outsider. Also, give us a like at facebook.com/thehollywoodoutsider. Or drop us an email, share us your thoughts at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com.
I'm
You
convinced.
should have thrown in some fucks and some goddams.
I thought about it.
Wow.
Stump the Hoe.
Stump the... I think Scott should do the DVD part with that southern accent every week. Okay. Stump the Hoe. Each week, one of our hosts poses a trivia question to the remaining hosts in an attempt to stump their fellow hoes. This week, it's my turn. We're going to be talking about the iconic movie Top Gun in a little bit. So here's a question about it. You guys ready?
Sure.
Hit me.
Top Gun launched the careers of several stars, yet one of them originally refused to be in the film and only took part due to contractual obligations with Paramount. Who was it? Was it A, Tom Cruise, B, Val Kilmer, C, Anthony Edwards, or D, Meg Ryan? Scott.
I'm confused by the question because most of those are pretty successful actors, but you're saying they were...
No, this film launched most of their careers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of those actors did not want to do the movie, but they had to because Paramount made them.
Oh, okay. I'm going to guess Meg Ryan.
Okay. Justin?
That would be my pick as well.
It's Val Kilmer.
Really?
Yep. Val Kilmer did not want to do Top Gun because he wasn't the lead. And he was, he's doing Real Genius, and he had, what was the movie? Top Secret.
Okay.
And he didn't want to do it, but Paramount required him to.
How does a studio require
It's
someone?
a contract. If you have a contract, you don't have a choice what movie.
Really?
Back in those days, yeah. they would sign like a X picture deal, and they would have to make so many movies. And if they wanted them in that movie,
Is that why he's so pissed off in that movie the whole time?
no, I think he's just always pissed off. Touche, Scotty.
Wow, Scott was funny
Scott's on fire.
on purpose.
Yes.
On purpose.
All right, let's go to the big screen. Now, Brian was supposed to review this with me, so I'm just going to keep reiterating that fucker's not here. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Okay. After narrowly escaping death at the hands of an evil witch as children in a frickin' gingerbread house, the brother and sister team of Hansel and Gretel grow up to be badass demon witch killers in hot leather pants with kick-ass weapons only made available in fairy tale kingdoms. After Muriel, who's played by Famke Janssen, did I say that? I did. Comes to a small town they're protecting, their skills as well as their past get tested in an all-out bitch-witch battle for the ages. I wrote that. That's awesome. Okay, when it comes to the story, I know I'm the only one that saw it that's here. I actually think the concept worked pretty well. I walked in this flick not very high on it at all. We talked about it about a week ago. Wasn't really that interested in it. I like Gemma Arterton. I kind of like Jeremy Renner, except he likes to play himself a lot. But the movie itself seemed like it was going too far. But the over-the-top, balls-out, awful, bloody affair that the movie ends up being just won me over after 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
it is fucking ridiculous.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
And it acts like it's ridiculous from the minute it starts. It never once takes itself seriously. It never once seems like it's trying to be too much. Where I thought that's kind of where Van Helsing didn't always do it for me, is because I think there were times where it seemed like it was taking itself too seriously. Mm-hmm. This thing is cheeky all the way. They just don't care. The acting, Gemma Arterton, Brian said it best when we walked out because we went and saw this together. There's not a flaw.
Aw.
I know, right?
There's a little bromance.
I went and visited him in Georgia. We went and saw, and you'd think I would have picked up a better accent, but that's what I had.
Is he not here because he's got mono from you?
That's what we're calling it. There is not a flaw on that woman, and I don't mean just because she's simply stunning to look at. I mean, from my 2 cents, I think she's one of those rare actresses to me, like a Jennifer Lawrence, where she just holds a screen. When she's on the screen, for whatever reason, I just can't take my eyes off her. And it's not just because she's attractive. I just think she has that charisma that works for me. So I loved watching her. Jeremy Renner played Jeremy Renner. I think at this point, he and Mark Wahlberg should just do a buddy pick because both of them played just themselves in every movie, except The Town. That's the only exception I'm giving him.
But what about his accent? Was his accent and Gemma Arterton's still so different? Because I can't get past that.
Yours is good. Actually, Brian said, because Brian is the one that had the issue with the
God
accents.
damn accents. Shit.
I can't handle when there's different accents. You don't even notice it in the movie, really, because once you see the tone in the movie, and none of that shit matters. It really, I don't. They could have both just stopped doing the script and just start ad-libbing. It still would have been fun.
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of movies.
I imagine there's not a whole lot of canon to Hansel and Gretel.
No, but those two really work well together.
Yeah.
I mean, even though Jeremy Renner is just Jeremy Renner, when they're together, they're interesting to watch. When they're apart, not as much. That's what I will say. That's kind of where the film would drag for me, is when they got separated from each other for a little portion of the movie, because they actually work well together. And they never. I was worried that they wouldn't come, because they're both attractive people. I'm like, I'm not going to buy them as brother or sister. At some point, they're going to start making out. And they came across well.
It's just in Star Wars.
Yeah. Famke Janssen as the evil witch was actually a really strong villain, but she's in makeup for most of the time, or CGI, whichever it is. So you can't see her emote, and you can't really see her act for a large portion of the movie. You'd think if you hire someone as noticeable as Famke Janssen, that you would actually put her in a role where she's mostly seen. But most of the movie, she's actually in witch makeup. That kind of distracted me a little bit. The director, Tommy Wirkola, who is famous for absolutely nothing to this point, does a pretty decent job. I didn't notice any effects or shots that were poorly done. And the movie moves at a really fast clip. I didn't see it in 3D, but some of the shots made me really wish I had. I mean, there's a lot of blood just splattering at the screen. A couple really clever decapitations, that kind of thing. And I want to reiterate that it's not a PG-13 fun movie. This is rated R, and they gut the fuck out of these witches. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty good. My verdict.
Keep waiting for Hugh Jackman to show up.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah. My verdict: good, bloody, dumb fun. This is a movie that is completely for entertainment. nothing else. This movie has a ton of bad reviews. I don't care. It reminds me a lot of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. So I give it 6.5 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I'm sorry, I wrote it down. 7 out of 10.
You think I'd like it?
Yes.
All right, yeah,
I think,
gotta go see it.
Yeah, it's not Cloud Atlas quite, but, it's up there.
Well, no, but what can?
So, Moonrise Kingdom, we've had several listeners that have wrote us, and we all made a promise, me, Brian, and Justin last week, to watch Moonrise Kingdom.
I'm sorry.
And apparently I'm the only one that understands what a promise means.
Oh, shit.
I'm the only one that saw it. But I did. Moonrise Kingdom, for you guys that have been writing in, because Jesse, Dan, a few others have written in saying, why haven't you guys written this? Because Scott hates this movie. And they're saying, this movie's wonderful, this movie's wonderful. Scott is dumb. We know Scott's dumb. But to be fair, one of us had to take the hit since the other two fuckers wouldn't do it. So it's a quirky comedy from Wes Anderson. It's about a stir boy and a girl who run away from home to be together on an island just before a big storm hits. And then it leaves the local police and the Boy Scout troop and the girl's family to set off and find them. The story with the boy and girl I thought was absolutely adorable. I really did. I thought it was sweet. It was cute. Those kids were both fucked up enough for me to enjoy them. I like that portion of it. And all the actors in it are really good. You got Bill Murray. He's actually pretty good. Bruce Willis is good. Edward Norton is very strong. I mean, I believed him as a sensitive scout leader. But the adult sections are too damn quirky for their own good. I totally understand where Scott's coming from. Because even though I didn't hate it, those sections made me want to stab a fork in my eye. Because it was just trying way too hard. That make sense? Is that kind of how you felt?
Yeah.
So, but the kids portion, a large portion of the film is these two kids. And I really liked it because I think they took a very adult approach to their relationship. Or a very realistic approach for their age and how kind of delusional they both were. Mm-hmm. I like that. That part... The quirky works there. It didn't work in the adult section. So,
because they're kids. They're supposed to be.
Yeah, if they would have been just about the kids the whole movie, I think it would have been wonderful. Honestly, I probably would have just fallen in love with and been raving about this movie. Because every time those two were on screen, I loved it. I thought Moonrise Kingdom was just sweet. And then every time an adult came in, it was just like when you are a kid. The adults ruin the party. So, so overall, I get why Scott was annoyed with the flick. And I give it 5.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's being nice, really. Because it wasn't... I don't think it's as good as people keep hyping it up to me.
Every time an adult talked, it felt like they were reading directly from a script instead of acting. And I know that's his tone. That's what he wants. I don't understand why that's a good thing. Because it seems so not real, so silly.
The kids seem believable in how they speak. The adults do not.
I would say the girl did more than the boy.
Yeah, the girl was strangely appealing. It was really creepy. I felt bad.
Right,
dirty.
But the boy he was supposed to be, because he was a weirdo. He was supposed to be like he's, this head.
She's
scout.
just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's crazy. Box office real quick. Hansel and Gretel, $19.6 million, number one. What? Mama held on at number 2 with $13 million. Zero Dark 30, so Jessica Chastain, the double feature. Number 3 with $9.7 million for $69 million total. Mama's got $50 million. It's already a hit. Silver Linings Playbook dropped only 12% to $9.4 million, $68.9 million. Parker, Jason Statham 19, made $7 million. Jason Statham, he's running really low these days. And that's the second huge action flop in 2 weeks, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie last week, huge flop.
Yeah.
The Last Stand, huge flop.
Yeah, but how much did Parker cost?
Parker made more than Schwarzenegger's movie.
Wow.
And that's not saying much. And movie 43, that movie that nobody knew what about, and then once they saw it, they wanted to forget about it, made $4.8 million. Woohoo!
So it didn't get good reviews, you're saying?
Awful.
Really?
Absolutely awful. I think it was 0 positive the last time I looked.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I was so curious, and I may not even give it a shot now.
I don't know. Now, guess what time it is?
All right, well, on February 8th, we have got 3 movies we're going to be talking about this week. The first one, Top Gun, the 3D IMAX experience. Now, this is an action film directed by the late, great Tony Scott, and it originally came out in May of 1986, which means that was about 27 years ago. Oh my God, I'm so old. It had a budget of $15 million and took in a box office of nearly $354 million, $1984. So, I'd say that's something of a success. The film starred Tom Cruise, Kelly McGillis, the aforementioned Val Kilmer, who apparently didn't want to be in it, Anthony Edwards, Tom Skerritt, and, of course, Michael Ironsides. I can't imagine anyone doesn't know what this film's about, but just in case, here we go. Tom Cruise plays Pete Maverick Mitchell, a young hotshot naval pilot. At first, he's passed over to attend the Navy's fighter weapons school, a.k.a. Top Gun. But after a fellow pilot loses it, he and Goose, that's Anthony Edwards, they get the nod. Cue lots of semi-homoerotic teeth gnashing and beach volleyball playing with an incredibly sexy and frost-tipped Val Kilmer. When the Russians or some shit get involved, fly over a border or something they shouldn't have, the only people who can deal with it are Ethan Hunt and the gang, who also happen to go back to the same carrier Maverick left at the beginning of the film. Jack Reacher shoots, Russian dies, and once again, democracy and apple pie are safe. Now, Brian, being a Southerner, I know you're an uber patriot with a gun rack, 4-year gun rack. So getting to relive this movie in 3D has got to have your red, white, and blue blood pumping. Are you headed for the danger zone?
Oh, hell yeah. I love me some Tom Cruise. Who doesn't like Top Gun? I got to go see that movie in the theater.
Seeing commies shot down out of the sky?
You know it.
Damn.
You know it, brother.
What about the rest of you? Are you actually going to go into the theater to see this?
I kind of want to.
Yeah, I kind of do too, actually.
I want to see planes flying up my face. And
Now, did
sand
either
volleyball.
of you guys see this movie originally in theaters?
I did, actually.
I did, yeah.
How old were you? I mean, because fuck, you must have been 2.
No, was it
Scott.
87, right?
86.
86. I was 6 years old. I remember because I really wanted to see Flight of the Navigator, and my dad wouldn't take me. He took me to see this instead, and I was really mad.
He's okay with homoerotic volleyball?
Apparently.
Well, Flight of the Navigator sounds like some hippie pussy bullshit.
Probably.
Top Gun, got to make a man out of you. Yeah, I remember seeing this when it first came out, and my mother bought the soundtrack, which of course had that opening song that you hear on the carrier, that da 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 da. Oh God! If it hadn't been for my complete hatred of mathematics and my bad eyes, I would have so been in the Navy as an aviator. It was the best recruitment movie I think ever made for the military, outside of a Michael Bay, shot. Am I going to go in the movies though to see it in 3D? Maybe. I mean, just to see some of these shots on the big screen again and feel the rumble of those F-14 Tomcats as they launch off the carriers. Shit, that might be enough.
Seriously, I'm on board.
I watched Top Gun the night before I went into the Navy.
Are you
True
serious?
story, yeah.
I'm telling you. Tony Scott and Michael Bay are 2 of probably the best when it comes to, or in Scott's case came to, highlighting the military. They do a great job, and I think there are probably a lot of people who are serving our country right now who do it because of these guys in their films.
Yes. They get there and they're like, this is bullshit.
This is bullshit. Where's my fucking Kelly McGillis?
Nobody said I was going to live on a ship with 4,500 guys.
These guys stink.
There is no Meg Ryan singing here. None.
I definitely want to go see it with like a bunch of buddies though. Like it's like a like a guy movie.
You should go in tank tops, all sweaty.
All greased up.
Yeah.
It's coming out like next
And you should
week.
take a volleyball with you, swear to God. Take a volleyball into the
Oh, that'd be
theater.
hilarious. I would bring a
be
volleyball. That'd be
With
funny.
your dog tags behind your neck. Yeah.
And my aviators. I have
Yeah,
a
I
pair
got
of
your
aviators.
aviators.
I'm
Just
totally...
watch it with your aviator sunglasses on.
These are my 3D glasses.
Oh my God, they should have made 3D glasses
How-
that look like naval aviators.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been awesome.
If they don't, they're missing out on a glorious
They are.
opportunity. Seriously.
I would go just for that.
Oh God, I hope somebody thought of that.
I
That
hope
would have
so,
been some
too.
fucking Ray-Bans. All right, our second film is Side Effects. Now, this is a psychological thriller directed by Steven Soderbergh. The film stars Jude Law, Rooney Mara, Rooney. I never do really
Rooney.
remember how her first name is pronounced.
Rooney.
Is it Rooney? All right, Rooney Mara, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Channing Tatum. Jonathan Banks, played by Jude Law, is a successful psychiatrist who begins having sessions with Emily Taylor, Rooney Mara, a young married woman who's dealing with the imminent jail release of her husband, played by Channing Tatum. When Emily's reunited with Martin, Banks prescribes a drug called Ablexa to treat Emily's anxiety disorder. Soon after taking the drug, Emily awakens to find a dead body in her apartment, having murdered the person. Banks is then heavily criticized, investigated, and questioned whether it was Emily's intention to murder the woman or if she was a victim of his medical treatment. Aaron, if you're not on medication, then you most definitely should be. Are you ready to see this movie, or are you afraid that seeing it's going to cause some penile bleeding, migraines, and explosive diarrhea?
I always love when you see those commercials on TV. Nothing makes me want to try those drugs. Nothing. Yeah, I do. It's Soderbergh, Channing Tatum, Rooney Mara. I've heard, from what I've heard, early reports that she gives a fantastic performance. I really like how Soderbergh shoots. Unfortunately, lately he's kind of been hit or miss, so his movie is either great or just okay. He hasn't had a whole lot of just solid good movies lately. It's either one or the other. So I want to see it, but I am hesitant.
I'm all about seeing more of Rooney Mara on screen ever since Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing Channing Tatum playing more of these serious roles, but the premise of this movie just doesn't do a whole lot for me.
I can't see it making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really can't. It's not something that I think is going to make a lot of money here or boost pharmaceutical sales.
Well, I don't know if this movie, are they trying to cast aspersions on our pharmaceutical industry, or is this, is it kind of screed against that, or is this really a story? Because some movies, are just a thinly veiled shot at one industry or another. I don't know about this one. I do like Soderbergh quite a bit. I tend to prefer his lighter stuff than I do his heavier films. But I do like him enough that I'll definitely check it out on video. But this isn't one of those movies that requires any kind of theatrical viewing from me.
So you prefer Magic Mike, is that what you're saying?
Well, I haven't actually seen Magic Mike, but the Ocean's films I liked quite a bit. But when it gets into his more serious stuff, I haven't seen too many that have really tripped my trigger outside of Solaris. I thought his remake of that was absolutely spectacular, but a lot of that had to do more with George Clooney and the score of that movie than the direction. But Soderbergh's a guy of talent. I'll just have to wait and see.
I think the story is from what I've heard, seems to be more of a thriller than it does a deep look at pharmaceutical, overtaking of pharmaceuticals or something. It seems like it's a thriller. Yeah. So I'm hoping that's what it is, because if it is, like Justin's worried about, I wouldn't want to see that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our last film is Identity Thief. Now, this is a comedy directed by Seth Gordon. It stars Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy. The best description for this that I could find was, the plot for the film is revealed to be about a man who gets his identity stolen by a woman. I think that really says all that needs to be said about this one. Scotty, I really want to like this film, as I've liked both the lead actors quite a bit in the past. And Seth Gordon's made some funny films like King of Kong, which was a documentary, and Horrible Bosses. But there's just something about this one that's putting me off. And if it were between seeing this and getting throat punched, which one would you choose?
Well, definitely seeing this one, but I am torn like you. I love Jason Bateman. Mm-hmm. He's very entertaining to watch on screen, and Melissa McCarthy ever since Bridesmaids. But I'm worried that's going to run dry here pretty soon. And I think this is as predictable as a comedy as they come. I can enjoy the one-liners in this movie at home just as much as I can in the theater, so I'll probably wait for this one.
I feel like if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And that doesn't sound funny for a comedy.
It could be a fun drinking game, like every time he gets throat punched, you take a shot.
Well, Jason Bateman's a good actor, but I don't think he's a great leading man. I don't think he can carry a film. He's one of those guys that needs a really good ensemble. And in that environment, he really shines, whether you're talking about Arrested Development or Horrible Bosses that he did. I think when he's surrounded by great people, he's great, but he just doesn't quite have enough gravity to him, enough presence to really carry a film. And when it's just him and Melissa McCarthy, it seems like a one-note joke film that's just going to keep reusing that joke over and over and over again.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, man.
All right. Well, of these three films, Top Gun, the 3D IMAX experience, Side Effects, and Identity Thief, which one are you guys most likely to see? Brian.
Woo! Top Gun, motherfuckers!
All right. I like to hear that enthusiasm. Aaron?
I want to see Top Gun just because I want to see Brian shoot people. And wear some sunglasses. I want to see Scott wear some sunglasses, be oiled up. Yeah.
Oh, I'll
You
do
want to see
it.
Scotty all like that?
In February.
Did I say it out loud again? Damn it.
Some thoughts you keep inside your head.
In February is what makes it so funny. Because it's so cold out where we are, and you go
You're
in
gonna have
there.
coat hangers on your
If
chest.
you go in there with a tank top on, aviator sunglasses, maybe throw some suntan lotion on.
Don't tempt me,
Oh,
man.
man.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Throw a little sand around.
I'm ready. Let's all do it. I'm in.
All right. And Scotty, what about you?
Is it sad that I'd rather see a 27-year-old movie than the other two? But
No.
No. Nah, I'd say Top Gun as well. So fuck it. It's a clean sweep.
All right, where you can hear us. Subscribe on iTunes, Zune, Google, listen on your Stitcher radio app, and give us a thumbs up if you do, or any RSS feed, as well as RockfordCollegeRadio.com Thursdays from 4 to 6. It really does miss a little bit when you don't hear the fucking iTunes. And
it doesn't have quite the punch.
it doesn't have quite the punch.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week, we play ours or a listener-suggested clip from a movie. And if you think you know what the clip is, you email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com or send us a direct message on Twitter at @H_outsider, and we will announce those that got it correct on the air and give you a proper ho shout-out. Last week, it was my choice, and it was Black Rain. One person got it right, and that's Mr. Anyone. So congratulations, man. Nobody else could figure it out. It's really sad because Black Rain's an awesome movie.
Chocolate rain. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Man, in internet years, that's like 10 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty old. But several people did get last week's correct, and as we said, we weren't able to give them a proper shout-out because we recorded early last week. So Jesse M., I think I said Mark T., but Mark T., Andrew R., Sean M., nice job, guys. I had no idea that Sex Drive was that popular. So
You really should check it out.
this week, it is Brian's turn. It is his clip. So if you think you know what this is, email us or tweet us. Twat us. Here's your clip.
No, boy. I bet you can squeal. I bet you can squeal like a pig. Oh, let's squeal. Squeal now. Squeal. Squeal. Squeal louder. 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 Get down there, boy. Louder.
Okay, now let's go to the couch. For you X-Files fans, the team of Mulder and Scully will be returning, finally, to comic books come June 2013.
Oh, and there it is.
There's the paw. We've been waiting for the McCumber sigh. We haven't heard that in a while.
The fact that 2012 came and went with no X-Files movie is one of the saddest, most missed opportunities I think I have ever experienced. That should have been the year that they did a film with the aliens, ended that whole mythology, put it to rest, give all of us fans the massive, fantastic film we deserved, and we didn't get it. It just, and now they want to shovel some fucking comic book at me like that's going to make up for it. No, sir. No. Buffy did it right. Angel did it right by going into comic books and continuing the story of those franchises into further seasons. The X-Files has been gone far too long, I think, for it to make an effective comic book. I don't think that those characters have ever worked in comic books that well, and they have been in comic book form. I've read them. I didn't care for them. I've also read the books, the novels that they did of all new Scully and Mulder adventures. I didn't think they were all that great either. These characters worked because of David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. Mm-hmm. On paper, it doesn't carry. The reason it worked so well with the comic books is because they had the fucking writers of the shows doing the comic books. Joss Whedon helped write and create. The writers of the show wrote the comic books. Those characters are already kind of cartoony to begin with. X-Files isn't like that. I don't think this is going to work. I'm not all that interested in following it. And frankly, my interest in the X-Files has now dwindled to nothing. They missed the movie opportunity they could have done. It's over for me. The TV show will always be there, and I will always love it. But going forward, they missed 2012, and for me, that's kind of unforgivable.
It's a weird jump to go from a movie series.
Not anymore. It's pretty common if you're a cult.
They do it a lot. I mean, there are a lot of TV shows that have gone on to be carried on in comic book form. But the thing is that what they're doing is this is going to be following the last film. This isn't going to be the Mulder and Scully of the FBI that I remember from the TV show. I'm not even sure really what they're going to do with it. And maybe in not knowing and yet being so firm on my dismissal, maybe that shows that I'm short-sighted or small-minded, but I'm not. And frankly, the image that they put in this IGN article is horrendous. I mean, fucking Mulder, the body that they've put on him, he looks more like John Travolta from Staying Alive than Fox Mulder. It's ridiculous. It's a terrible image. I think it's kind of a bad idea. X-Files, your time came. You were great. The time is gone. The one chance you really could have redeemed everything has passed. Let's just move on.
I have to believe that there's a significant amount of
I
people.
want to believe.
There's got to be a lot of people that don't have any interest in reading comic books that love X-Files or loved X-Files.
I would agree with that, but unfortunately, the last movie didn't do that well, but I think they marketed it wrong. They didn't seem to put a lot of muscle behind it. They did not do what the fans wanted, which was hit the sci-fi storyline that Justin's talking about. Mm-hmm. They didn't really wrap that up. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of my all-time, probably top 10 favorite series of all time. I own every season, but I stop at season 7. I will watch the final movie because I really like the last end shot. To me, that's a finality for the show. So that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm not going to read any comic books.
How many seasons were there?
9.
And
but Mulder left at 7.
Oh, okay.
At the end of 7. He'd pop up here and there, but I don't count it after season 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I still watched 7, 8, and 9, but you can definitely tell that without Mulder, the real heart of that show went out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we talked about this a little last week. Zombieland was being shopped around, but now Amazon has moved forward with picking the series up to make it a series for their Prime
subscribers.
Prime subscribers. Thank you, Scott, for being there for me. And with Netflix, now Amazon, and I believe Hulu is doing this. Are we seeing the next stages of television?
God, I hope so. I really do. The idea of watching an entire series uninterrupted, without commercials, and not having to wait from week to week sounds very appealing to me. I would pay what I'm paying for cable now to be able to do that. I'm seriously, if it weren't for my wife's obsession with Biggest Loser and Parenthood, I would get rid of cable altogether. I hate it.
You would pay like $80 just to be able to watch it when you want it now, if you wanted to, or however.
$80?
Well, I mean, whatever you pay for cable. I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, cable's probably costing.
I forgot you're cheap. $3. You're willing to pay $3.
Just to be able to watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it, instead of having to worry about recording it or having to fast forward through commercials, and that is what entertainment should be. I mean, that's what back when we had like 4 or 5 channels, and then people that had cable were the premium. This is the premium. People that are willing to pay the extra dollar to get the better stuff and not have to. I don't know.
The thing that concerns me with that is that, and Justin, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The thing that concerns me with that is that when it gets more popular, and I love the idea, what you're saying, I love. I'm not trying to be negative in any way, shape, or form. What worries me is that advertisers will find a way to ruin it.
They do. Look at YouTube. Remember when YouTube didn't have commercials?
Yeah, I can't even watch YouTube without a bunch of shit popping up telling me how to subscribe. Mm-hmm. I don't want to subscribe. I'm trying to watch a dog piss on a person. That's what I want to watch.
I just want to see the 2 girls in their cup. I didn't want to see an ad.
Delete browser history.
Well, I'm really of two minds about this. The techno geek part of me loves the idea that more and more power is being taken away from the major networks. And by the majors, I, of course, mean NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox. I love that the smaller cable satellite channels are getting the real fantastic shows. I love that these sorts of on-demand avenues are starting to develop their own kind of TV lineup. And so anything that can get us away from the overly censored, overly homogenized networks is a fantastic thing. But the old man crotchety get off my lawn part kind of misses the day when you actually had to digest something slowly and wait from one week to the next to think about what you'd watched and to digest it, give it a lot of thought, and then move into the next episode and then give that one some thought. I was listening to some people talking about that they had watched some show all the whole season in a couple of days. And they kept talking about several shows at once, not realizing that they were mixing up some of the characters and storylines because they had watched several different shows that way. And I think when you consume something like a TV show in such a truncated time, and you do that amidst other shows, if they're similar, they start to bleed together, and you lose part of what made them special by cramming it all together. It's like taking a plate of food, upending it, and just shoving it all in your mouth. I don't know if I would have loved a show like Lost. Brian's not here, so I can say it without his sighing. I don't know if I would have gotten the same thing out of it if I had watched every episode back to back to back to back. It was having that week to go on the internet and look up some of the names or some of the places or some of the things they mentioned, listening to a podcast and hearing other people talk about the show that really kind of enriched that experience. That you can't do that if you're going to watch a show all the way through with no interruption. So I'm trying to balance my love of doing that, which I am doing right now with a couple of shows, and yet I miss that week to week. I don't quite know how to feel about it, but I do know, fuck the networks. Let's get some more of these talented shows away from them and into a place where they can be done with far less censorship and need to please the lowest common denominator amongst us.
I get what you're saying about not being able to digest or wanting to digest those episodes over a week at a time, but I got two things to say about that. Number one, I think it can actually have the reverse effect. Give you an example. I just recently got caught up on Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. I watched season 2, which you guys didn't like very much.
Yeah, because it had such a slow pace.
Yeah.
Right. And I watched that as I wanted to, and I actually I liked season 2 better than I'm liking season 3 right now. And you guys probably might think I'm crazy.
No, I could see that if you actually get rid of that long wait,
right,
it probably makes it play faster.
The number 2 thing I will say is that you can have those pauses if you want to.
That's true.
You can wait
you are
from
right.
week
They're not
to week.
forcing me to sit there Clockwork Orange style. And...
Exactly. I like the idea of having the control to myself to get these in the amount of time that I want.
Oh, you're that kind of guy. Got it.
I like having the control. I'll pull your hair,
Wow.
Maybe a little punch.
Oh, man.
But you know what I mean? You can space it out. Give yourself a schedule. I mean, some people only really have time to watch TV maybe once or twice a week, and that's why they DVR. So put it on there, put it on your calendar or whatever, and watch, like Sunday night, that's when I watch TV with my wife.
Well, and I think and Brian, and I'm glad he's not here, but last week he made the point. Let's just keep saying it every 5 minutes or so. He did make the point that people now are on their own schedules. People watch television, like you were just saying, on their own schedules. This works great for that. I get tired of shows like Homeland. I don't have Showtime. I have no desire to get Showtime. I like the show, but I'm not going to spend an extra $20-$30 per month to see one show.
Right.
I'd rather wait and buy the DVDs or Blu-ray because I'm not Justin. I can't always afford the Blu-ray. So I'll wait and get the DVDs when they come out and watch it then, and I can watch it all at once if I want.
Right.
I love that concept. I'm worried more about the I get what everybody's saying. My concern is more the advertising. When's that going to come into play? Because at some point, Pepsi's going to find a way to throw their fucking ad in the middle of my cool streamed with no commercials show.
Plus, the problem is there's too many shows that I want to watch and too many services to get them all from. Even right now, I've got Netflix and cable is pretty much the only ones that I have. But there's Hulu, or Hulu Plus, there's iTunes, there's all these different ways to do it. There's not one that lets me watch everyone I want to. I almost kind of wish that I could. I mean, iTunes is basically that, where you can pay a, smorgasbord.
Well, there are boxes you can buy. I think the Roku box does play Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. Don't quote me on that. I know that my Apple TV, the little box that costs $99, plays Netflix, and it does play Hulu, plus all my iTunes stuff. I don't think Amazon is on it. If Amazon catches on, maybe they would add it. I don't see why not. They have Hulu on there, but Amazon is more a direct competitor to iTunes, so that might be a little too close for them to want to bring Amazon on. But in Amazon on the PS3.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think Hulu is now too.
Yeah, Hulu is too.
Hulu, yeah, it is as well. And I know the Xbox has got Netflix and Hulu. It may have Amazon as well. So there are appliances you can buy that will play most, if not all, of these different services.
And most Blu-ray players.
No, right.
Yes.
But I'm not talking logistically. You still have to pay a separate service fee for each of the services.
True, but then you're talking like $8.
And
I don't mind paying $8 for Hulu and then $8 for Netflix. I get Amazon for free since we're on Prime. Yeah, I don't mind paying that as opposed to $100 a month for a satellite system that I watch 2 or 3 shows off of.
Right. That's the thing, is I want to get rid of that before I start
I do
paying
too.
for that.
I really do too.
NBC has ordered a pilot centering on the Hatfield and McCoys, only it's going to be set in modern times.
Now, you guys are going to have to tell me, are there any living Hatfields and McCoys?
I don't know.
I have no clue.
I don't know either, but this film is actually this TV show, is going to be a modern day story about the Hatfields and McCoys set in a present day Pittsburgh after, some kind of startling death reignites the feud between these two families. If there are no more Hatfields and McCoys, great. Make the show. It might actually be interesting depending on who they cast to be in it. I mean, the person who's writing it, the pilot anyway, is John Glenn, who wrote Eagle Eye, which I thought was a fairly decent action film with LaBeouf. And the executive producers on this include Charlize Theron and some other people I've never heard of. It has the potential to be interesting if they get the right cast involved. And unfortunately, Timothy Oliphant's busy with Justified, so he can't slide over and shoot at people in this show too. But if there are Hatfields and McCoys, I don't quite know how I would feel about it then, unless they are actually like consultants or something, having their real family history fictionalized while they're here to watch it. I would think it would be a little more awkward than if they're all dead. But there's still a kind of strangeness about using real life people, or at least families, to now fictionalize into a new story about violence. Now the more that I think about it, the more I'm kind of like, this is kind of awkward. I mean, we're not talking about the Capulets and Montagues who, didn't actually exist. We're talking about real families here.
It's a good point. I've actually never thought about that. I still don't have a whole lot of... I can't say I don't have any interest, because the more people talk about the original one, the History Channel version that set in that actual time period, I haven't heard a bad thing about it. But I don't know about doing it in modern times, especially if it's real family. That's going to be real close to home.
I think this is a total cash grab for the History Channel.
I would
success,
agree with that.
And it's really hard for me to get behind it because of that.
Yeah.
It could end up being a wonderful show, but to me, it's just like that Sherlock Holmes show, Elementary. It's not a bad show. People like it. I'm not watching it because there's enough of it. I already got my fill of what I wanted out of that. I don't want to see your stupid show. Your stupid, wonderful, high-rating show. The following, and apparently why I'm the only one here that has not seen the show is shameful, I'll be honest. But I understand Justin has a must get renewed for a second season rule.
It's my rule. I've been fucked. I'm not getting fucked again.
Scott is trying to be a teacher extraordinaire, so it falls on me. Kevin Bacon stars as a guy that basically he put away a serial killer 8 years prior, and there's some circumstances that caused him to lose his job as an FBI agent, even though he caught the guy. Well, 8 years later, that same serial killer escapes, gets out in the open. Apparently, he's been assembling a cult following. Get the title. During his incarceration, he somehow got a hold of the internet because apparently they don't monitor, inmates very well at this prison, and he's built up a small cult. So he turns himself in at a point, and Kevin Bacon basically has to track down. I can't give away too much because some people might not have seen the premiere episode, and I don't want to ruin that for anyone. But basically, some things happen, so now he has some other issues to find, and he also has to deal with murderers from this particular cult following, and where do they go from here? What's the end game? There's a big end game for the serial killer. What's his end game? And all these other people that are involved. So now you've got killers every week, different killers that are part of this following. The show so far, fantastic. I really am impressed. And I try not to use that term. I'm not like Scott. I don't like to say fantastic every time I like something. I love the tone of the show. It reminded me very much of an early X-Files. Kevin Bacon has just the right amount of someone that, he's playing that same role where he burned alcoholic, my life's ruined. He's playing that role and he's trying to bring himself back.
How's his charisma?
He's got some. Yeah, he's got some. He's got a little charisma. The serial killer aspect is very strong. I like what they're doing. They're basically incorporating Edgar Allan Poe's writings as the blueprint for how these murders are being orchestrated.
Okay.
I like it a lot. Natalie Z, who was in Justified, and she left Justified to come on in this show, she played Braylon's ex-wife in that show. She's on here as the serial killer's ex-wife. She does a very wonderful job, and of course, eventually had a relationship with Kevin Bacon's character, and what's to come in that. So far, it's only 2 episodes in. There's 14 episodes. Fox swears they're going to air them all. If not, they will, put them all on DVD, whatever. But the show's getting really good ratings. I guess it barely even dropped from its premiere week. I'm a big fan of the show. There were some genuine scares, which haven't happened in a TV series for me since the first probably 2 seasons of X-Files. So that was impressive. I really like the tone of the show. So the following, check it out.
What day does it air?
But good things.
Yeah, it comes out on Mondays at 8 o'clock. It's after Bones.
Okay.
Scott Clark, DVDs.
All right, we're looking at the releases for February 5th. First off, we've got Flight. Denzel Washington stars as a commercial airline pilot.
Jesus, wasn't that in theaters last week?
Yeah, something like that.
It was a while ago.
Man, the turnaround is getting ridiculous. They should just start handing you the DVD as you leave the theater.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I'd see a lot more movies in the theater.
Of course, Justin still wouldn't go. He'd be like, fuck you, give me Blu-rays.
Well, true. I mean, come on, we got to have standards.
Anyway, he saves the lives of several people by miraculously landing a crashing airplane, but he's later under investigation when he's suspected of being under the influence while on the job. This also marks the return of Robert Zemeckis. Also coming out on February 5th is Peter Pan. This is not a new Peter Pan. This is the Blu-ray release of the original hand-drawn animated classic from 1953. Next up is Here Comes the Boom. Kevin James plays a biology teacher who decides to train as an MMA fighter in order to raise money for his school. This also stars Selma Hayek, which guarantees Aaron will give it a rental at least.
I will rent it.
Alex Cross, this is based on the character by James Patterson. Alex Cross, now played by Tyler Perry, plays a cat and mouse game with a serial killer obsessed with torture, and that guy's played by Matthew Fox.
Can I just ask real quick, why do they always play cat and mouse games? Whenever they explain the thrillers like that, it's always a cat and mouse game.
Well, that's pretty much James Patterson novels are that.
Yeah, I know. It's just cat and mouse. It's just old. There's got to be a cat and mouse that like each other.
I doubt it.
There's got to be.
I'll try to write one better next week.
Was Fox the guy who played on Lost?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, he was. Okay.
Yep.
I want to make sure I mention that show.
You're going to mention Lost as often as you can just because Brian's not here.
Pretty much.
So when he listens to it, which I know you're listening, Brian. Lost.
Pay your electric bill.
I need that noise, that like French horn that goes. Deadfall, a thriller that follows 2 siblings who decide to fend for themselves in the wake of a botched casino heist and their unlikely reunion during another family's Thanksgiving celebration.
I really hate when those heists go bad.
Especially around the holidays. Here's the crazy thing. Check out this cast. It's got Eric Bana, Olivia Wilde, Charlie Hunnam. That's from Sons of Anarchy, right? Mm-hmm. Chris Christopherson and Sissy Spacek.
It's great. Great cast.
Yeah. Finally, on special note, Dread, which did terrible in the theaters. It did about $13 million in the U.S., made close to $1 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales, which means it's probably good news and that we'll get a sequel on that.
Not $1 million, $1 million sales.
Well, my bad. $1 million sales.
What did
Little
you s-
difference.
Yeah,
Little difference.
huge difference.
I thought it was when I thought that was
That's
like
all right.
$1 million.
Scott Clark, our reporter on the scene.
Ah, yes.
Okay, now it's time for recasting the classics with Justin McCumber, and he gets to recast Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's right. Recasting the Classics is one of our newer segments. This is where one of us hoes gives another hoe a classic film in which they must recast 4 of the characters with modern day actors. They can go as far afield as they want. They just have to justify their picks. The last time we did this, Brian, I really think Aaron was so fucking wrong in his takes on Brian's picks, and Brian recast the Reservoir Dog films with all women instead of men, and I really feel like his choices were so out of the box thinking. Loved it. Aaron typically wrong as usual in his
Okay,
criticisms.
you're not going to paint it like I hate women. I just didn't like his
No, not
picks.
because you hate women, just because you hate life and fun and joy. So you got it all wrong.
All right, that's fair.
But Brian handed off to me, and he wanted me to recast the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he wanted me to recast Dr. Frankenfurter, Janet, Brad, and the criminologist, who's also the narrator. So that's what I'm going to be doing for you fine folks now. The criminologist is a character you see in the film. He narrates it. He's not an incredibly pivotal character. He's definitely not the character you think of when Rocky Horror Picture Show is mentioned. So I really didn't feel too much pressure to cast this one with someone incredibly interesting. But Ewan McGregor, I think, has a great presence, a great voice. The original criminologist was a Brit, and I kind of felt like casting another Brit to follow on, though Ewan McGregor is Scottish. So technically, he's not a Brit, but come on.
Yeah,
It's the UK.
those little technicalities.
It's all
From
the
a different
same
country.
shit, right? It's all the same shit. But Ewan McGregor, I love him as an actor, and I think that he would probably make that role shine a little more than it did in the original film.
Okay.
Now, for Brad, this is your everyman guy. He's the person introduced who's kind of, the audience to a certain degree. He and Janet both. But he's your average guy who gets introduced into this, stumbles into this house and sees all the antics that go. So, it's got to be someone who can sing, who is got some talent as an actor. I actually went with Justin Timberlake for this guy.
Oh, Scott's on board.
I think Timberlake is really funny when he acts against type, and by that I mean acts like he's just an every guy or he's a little nerdy. Whenever he plays smooth, it's just, dude, we know you're smooth. Play something different. And the times I've seen him play different, I think he does a great job. And of course, he's a good singer, and the boy's got some skills.
Just a couple.
He does have with a Z.
With a Z. Now, for Janet, there were a lot of ways I could have gone with this. I had about 3 different actresses that I could have cast in it, but I wanted someone who had kind of an oh gosh quality to her, someone who could really portray that kind of wide-eyed innocence suddenly introduced into the wild world of Dr. Frankenfurter's Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I went with Zooey Deschanel. She's got those big blue eyes that are so big you almost feel like they're going to fall out of her face. A great feeling of innocence to her. And I think she's one of those actresses that people know her name, but she hasn't quite achieved the level of success I think she deserves. So Zooey Deschanel is who I would put in Janet role.
I
She
love
can
that.
sing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
right.
great.
All of my actors that I've cast can sing. These are legitimate singers. Ewan McGregor was in Moulin Rouge. Justin Timberlake. I mean, come on. Zooey Deschanel has sang as well. So I wasn't going to cast anybody who couldn't do the part.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Frankenfurter.
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
This is the role that has to be cast right. And I really had a lot of choices. Because Tim Curry is a big guy. Mm-hmm. And so to see him in the fishnet, in the makeup, in the outfit, it is such an odd pairing of body type and wardrobe. that's what gives that character a lot of its flavor. And so I contemplated a long time. Maybe I would go with Hugh Jackman. You know, the guy's big, and I think it would be really funny to see him dressed up like that. And then I thought, well, maybe Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler can sing, and he's kind of a bigger guy. Mm-hmm. But really, I wanted to get someone that I thought could, it wasn't so much about the body type, but really about portraying that zany character, not zany, that off-kilter character of Dr. Frankenfurter. I ultimately felt like, for me, the best pick for Dr. Frankenfurter, Johnny Depp. I think he can pull off the over-the-topness of him. I think he could definitely pull off that outfit. I mean, after seeing some of the bullshit he's worn in the Willy Wonka film, Demon Butcher.
No, Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd, thank you. God.
Who's my favorite musical of the last decade. So
right. Alice in Wonderland. The guy knows all about wearing wacky outfits and carrying them off. So for me, he's not as big as Tim Curry physically, but I think on a screen, he's got incredible presence. And I think that he could carry off a Frankenfurter with a definite aplomb. Now, one of our listeners who knew I was going to be doing this, she tweeted us pretty early on, and she wanted me to pick for Dr. Frankenfurter Neil Patrick Harris. Mm-hmm. That is not a bad choice.
No, not at all.
Not a bad choice at all. But because she chose it, I didn't want to go with anybody that was given to me. I really wanted all of these to be my own picks. I didn't want to lift or borrow. Even if you give me permission to use your choice, I really didn't want to make it my own. And I do think Johnny Depp would be a better fit. But Neil Patrick Harris would have been an interesting choice for that as well. So there you go. Now, for Aaron, this is your film. You're going to be recasting the 1979 classic Alien.
Oh, all right.
You are going to be recasting John Hurt's original Kane. Mm-hmm. You're going to be also with Tom Skerritt, speaking of Top Gun, Tom Skerritt's Dallas. You're also going to be recasting Ian Holmes' Ash, the android. And of course, and I cannot wait to hear who you recast as Sigourney Weaver's Ripley.
Probably a dude.
It won't be Anna Kendrick, I can tell you that.
I'm hoping for Jennifer Lawrence. Come on.
You can pretty much just put her in the role now.
Because she runs around quite a bit in just panties and a t-shirt. So,
yep, Jennifer
and
Lawrence.
She looks better than Sigourney Weaver, yeah. Maybe I will go with a child. Who knows? I'm going to shake it up.
Whoa.
Oh, not
wait a minute.
not that kind of party.
She's running around in underwear.
Gotta break it out again. Got to go pedophile drift. Is that what's going to be pedophiles in space?
Pedophiles in space.
Because in space,
no one can hear you scream.
We're going to jail.
Oh, you're such a bitch.
All right. God damn, I'm going to jail again. Now, from the outside in topic this week, one of our listeners brought up an interesting point by stating how much they despise Michael Bay. Yet Justin and also Brian love Michael Bay. So here's the message real quick. Hey, Aaron, I listened to the podcast today, and I have to agree. I like Deep Impact, but Armageddon was crap. It makes me sad. Hang on, easy killer. It makes me sad that someone as intelligent as Justin McCumber. This is like when my mom scolded me. You're so wonderful, but you're such a fucking idiot. It makes me sad that someone as intelligent as Justin McCumber constantly sings the praises of Michael Bay, a no talent hack. I understand the concept of the popcorn movie, but I still want some kind of story, not just CGI and explosions with terrible dialogue. Worst director ever. I think that one might be a little strong, but I understand what you're saying. So it brought to light a topic we wanted to talk about, which was Michael Bay, Zack Snyder, Tony Scott, rest his soul. Directors like this rarely receive any critical recognition at all. And if they do, it's rarely positive. And none of us are going to argue that any of their movies are art. I'm not going to argue. I mean, Justin might argue it, but I won't. But there's a noticeable distaste for popcorn fare unless the name attached to it is Spielberg or Nolan. Yet their movies make millions. People love them. So why can't critics appreciate popcorn movies? Justin, please go first.
Well, it would be easy for me to just unload a whole double barrel of rage on this, and I'm not going to do that. I would say, though, that to call Michael Bay a no-talent hack is absolutely ridiculous. All you have to do, even if you don't like what he makes, you have to at least appreciate the talent that goes into making what it is that he makes. I'm not a big fan of a lot of country music, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the people who make it don't have talent, that they can't play a guitar, that they can't sing a note. They do just fine. It's just not to my flavor or to my taste. And I really hate it when people want to equate their taste as some kind of arbiter of what's actually art or what is good or what should be successful. Why can't we all just accept the fact that we all have our individual opinions and tastes, and that if something you don't like it, then just say, I don't like it, instead of saying, well, it's terrible or it's no good or it's not art. Just say, I don't like it, and leave it at that. You don't have to make an artistic opinion based on just whether or not you liked it. There's a lot of art I don't like, but I'm not going to say that it's not art. It's just not my flavor. I don't care for it, but I'm not going to diminish it because of my opinion. Far too many people think that their opinion equals some kind of universal truth, and it's not. It's just your opinion. Michael Bay's films are beautifully shot. You may not like them. You may think there's not enough story, and you're probably right, but that's okay. His movies are artful in the way that they show the violence of these gun battles, the explosions that ripple through. He has a lot of talent. Zack Snyder has got a lot of talent in what he does, even if you don't like it. Tony Scott, God rest his soul, had a lot of talent doing what he did. So let's not make some kind of overarching opinion about what's art or not based on whether or not you liked it. Just keep it to your opinion and leave it at that. I do like Michael Bay because I do like explosions. I do like bullets. I do like slow-mo shots and flags waving. I love the music that he uses in it. I love the way that he does what he does. It's popcorn. It's cotton candy movie making, and that's fine. I also like to sit back and watch something more artful on occasion. Why can't I have both? Why does it have to be an either-or kind of thing? It's a false dichotomy. You don't need it. There's room for all of these people to do what they do, and room for everybody to enjoy it as they see fit or not enjoy it. Not every film has got to be, God, I loved Cloud Atlas. I do not want every film to be like that. Sometimes I just want to see shit blow up. And blow up pretty. And that's what Michael Bay does.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
Well, first off, I got to say thank you to whoever wrote this email for agreeing that Deep Impact was better than Armageddon. Aaron doesn't like it when people agree with me, so I really get to hear those emails, and I don't even know your name for that very reason, so thank you. Secondly, I would argue that Zack Snyder's films are pretty artistic. That's the guy that did, correct me if I'm wrong, Zack Snyder, that's 300 guy, right? Mm-hmm. 300 and Watchmen?
Absolutely.
Those are pretty, I would consider those more artistic and less popcorny movies, but again.
Well, there's a lot of depth to Sucker Punch that people don't want to see. For whatever reason, they just want to imagine that it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Sucker Punch has actually got a pretty deep story to it. Most people just want to ignore it because it's so much fun to hate on him.
Right. And it's Reese Bennett was her name, by the way. Reese.
Oh.
Okay.
It was Reese B, by the way. Fucking shit. Let me try this one more time. It was Reese B, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Oh, well, thank you,
That's
Reese.
who wrote the article.
Thank you, Reese. I appreciate it.
And I went real quick. Sucker Punch. No, that story is dumb. It's a dumb story.
It's absolutely not. But
visually, it looks beautiful, but I thought the story was just silly. I mean, I get it.
Have you watched it though with the commentary?
But that doesn't matter. I shouldn't have to watch the commentary. I don't want to see
that is bullshit. That's like saying that if I get a book and the book comes with footnotes and all sorts of other information that somehow that book shouldn't need it. Sometimes it is okay to have someone come in and illuminate some things that maybe you didn't see or you weren't aware of. There's a lot of times where that happens with me and some of the things that I see when someone comes in and explains it. Oh, okay. Now I kind of see what they were doing with that. it shouldn't rely on that. You're right. I mean, if an art can't stand on its own, then it fails. I think it did stand on its own, but in watching the commentary, I actually saw a lot more to it than I did before, and I was glad he did it. I don't think that argument holds water that I shouldn't have to have it. It's fine to have it, and I found it of value.
Hey, if you liked it, you liked it. I didn't. I just didn't like the story, and we can. I think visually, it's a gorgeous movie. It's one of those movies that's gorgeous, and I think Zack Snyder is a gorgeous storyteller. I don't think he's always the best with stories. Watchmen wasn't really his story, but I like his. He has a great visual eye, and I don't think every director has to be a masterful storyteller all the time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think. And I think Sucker Punch is one of those movies, if you want to use that as an example. It's one of those movies where I think some people want to check their brain at the door. I think it's that kind of movie. And if you watch it, visually, it's amazing to watch. And there's a lot of movies like that.
To that point, you mentioned Spielberg and Nolan. And why did those get higher acclaim? I think that the reason those do get higher acclaim is because they're not only pretty movies and artistic, but they're also have a what I would consider a better story than something like an Armageddon or a Transformers or those kind of things. And I'm not knocking those movies, but they're considered quote unquote smarter movies that also look pretty.
Based on what I've seen, and this is just my opinion, based on what I've seen, Spielberg started with a fucking shark movie. Okay, now granted, it's a masterful shark movie, but it's just a shark movie. Mm-hmm. But he gets tons of credit for that shark movie. Now, I think Transformers, I didn't care for the last two movies, but let's just take the first one, because I don't want to make it a debate. Take the first movie, didn't really get critically loved, but for what it's trying to be, it excelled at. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wanted to make a big monster robot mashup flick, and it did. I don't know, how can anyone argue that wasn't a great robot clashing movie? Yeah. It was. And he doesn't get any credit for that whatsoever. They're just like, well, that movie had no story. It's fucking Transformers, man. What kind of story do you want out of it? It's like Battleship. Now, I know we like it or don't like it. I thought Battleship was a hell of a lot of fun. You require no IQ to watch it, mm-hmm. which is, unfortunately, a lot of America. And, people go
Not our audience. But...
Not our audience. No, we're not talking about you guys. We're talking about everybody else. All your friends or people that you don't like at work, those guys.
Your parents. Your kids.
Your kids would probably love Battleship. But that's a dumb, fun movie. And, it gets no critical love at all. None. And, to hear Justin say it probably shouldn't. But it's no different than any Michael Bay movie. I mean, it's really it's just big shit making loud noises blowing up. If that's the kind of movie you want, it's the perfect movie for that. You can't knock that.
At the end of the day, movies are supposed to be fun, and there's nothing
wrong
with
not all movies. I mean,
not all.
Supposed
to be entertaining.
Entertaining, but there's nothing wrong with sitting back and enjoying some explosions, like Brian or like Justin's talking about.
No,
not every movie is going to be Citizen Kane. I mean, I don't like just one type of movie, like Justin said.
I don't even think Citizen Kane is Citizen Kane, but it's just my opinion.
But I like Justin said, I don't like just one kind of movie. I like blow up in your face movies. I like artistic ones. I like ones that make me think. I mean, variety is, not to be cliche, but variety is the spice of life, and movies are no different.
There are some directors that are and granted, I won't make any excuses for Michael Bay because I think he's an arrogant prick. Honestly, any interview I've ever seen him in, he's so full of himself, it's disgusting. It's almost like watching LeBron James. Michael Bay is going to do what Michael Bay is going to do, and that's
he also has a great sense of humor about himself, too.
He does. That commercial he did where everything blows up is freaking hysterical.
Awesome.
But you go back to his earlier movies, and none of his movies have had a really deep plot. Maybe The Island had one. None of his other movies have. He wants to make movies that are fun to go see. Mm-hmm. Period. That's all he seems to care about. And that's
fine.
That's absolutely fine. You can watch money. Bad Boys. Bad Boys is dumb, but it's fun. Bad Boys 2, you run over corpses. There's nothing more retarded than that fucking scene, and I loved every minute of it. You watch Transformers, it's giant robots fighting. How do you not love that shit? I mean, it's something childish in a lot of people. It's something that just, you can just sit, check your brain, you're happy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, but the one thing we're not talking about is why do critics, and by that, we mean those professionals who either have, websites on a TV show, they're paid to watch movies and render their opinion. Why do they hate these films so much? I honestly can't tell you. I mean, if they want every film to be high-minded, deep-thinking, fair, and any movie that doesn't do that is somehow beneath them, I don't know what to say to that. I really don't, and I don't get it. I love, Aaron, that you said that Transformers succeeded wonderfully at what it set out to do, and that was to make a balls out explosion movie of robots kicking the shit out of robots. That's what Michael Bay wanted to do. That's what he did, and he did it incredibly well. Films, I would rather see a film aim high like that and succeed than just either get phoned in but just make one of the characters mentally, deficient or somehow handicapped and then get an award for it all day long. I wanted somebody to really try to do something cool, something interesting, and succeed doing it instead of just giving me the same old Oscar bait shit that we see over and over again. But that's not what critics want. I don't get it. And that's why I personally don't watch or care to follow any critics, because I invariably disagree with almost all of them. I'm much more a fan of the popcorn films, the candy, cotton candy sort of entertainment than they are. I don't know why there's this lack of willingness to appreciate those sorts of films.
You have a very good point when it comes to critics. That's the one thing, and I guess we were more on film goers as well as critics, but the critics themselves that seem to have a problem with these kind of movies, I will never understand. You're supposed to be objective. I used to run a movie website for almost a decade, and I always try to be as objective. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I mean, there's some kinds of movies.
Oh, you're not. we know.
There's
We're
some
agreeing
kinds.
with you.
You go look at my scores. All right, I give a lot more favorable reviews than negative. There's a lot of. I don't like to see movies that I don't think I'll like. I mean, we've talked about this before. If there's a certain kind of movie you're not into, you probably shouldn't review it. But unfortunately, a lot of them have to see the movies that they're required to see for their paper or blog or whatever it is. That's fine. If you got to see it, that's fine. But if you're not watching that movie based on the exact intention that movie is going for, you're not being fair to that movie. Like the Witch Hunters, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. If anybody thinks that that's trying to go for art, you're a fucking idiot. And you shouldn't be allowed to be a critic. Because that movie is going for something very, very specific. It's going very much for a cult audience, cult type of audience. People that like quirky, weird, that kind of movie. It's not going for your mainstream everyday. It's not trying to be a horror movie specifically. It's not trying to be a action movie specifically. It's all over the place. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the reviews are being fair to what they're going for. Transformers, that came out. Nobody reviewed it based on the fact that it's a giant monster bash. They're like, well, this action movie, I mean, the concept and this, everybody, they seem so snobby and pretentious and arrogant and full of themselves. And they apparently live on a different plane than us common folk that have to read these pitiful reviews. But they saw a guy who has AIDS and has a meth habit and has found a way to overcome adversity.
That's fucked up, dude.
I know, right? And he's got
shit.
got the Magic Johnson AIDS where he gets over it and overcomes adversity, whatever, and he gets an Oscar. That's a wonderful film. But there's no fun to be had whatsoever in that shit.
Here's my
and
opinion.
not every film has to be fun. I mean, Closer is not a fun movie.
No.
But I don't want every film to be Closer. There's room for all of it. I'm sorry, Scotty, you were saying.
No, that's okay. Here's my opinion, and this is just my opinion. I think that a lot of these critics are just critics. It's not, quote unquote, cool to like these kind of dumb fun movies. It's an elitist mentality, and I say this because I've had friends that consider themselves to be movie critics, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know a few.
Rotten Tomatoes.
It's this thing that you walk out of a movie with somebody and you really liked it, and they feel like they have this sense of empowerment because they didn't like that movie,
and they have to ruin your experience.
And they have to ruin your experience because they're at a higher level than you or something like that. I think that is the biggest problem with these critics that are critics. That, and a lot of these critics see a lot more movies than even you guys do. I mean, that's all they do, and they're very jaded to seeing so many movies, and they have to see everything, and they have to see all the crap along with it. So for them to find a movie that really makes them enjoy it, it has to be something at a higher, different level, or something that they've never seen before. They've seen stuff blowing up before, so that's not a new concept to them.
That's a good point, Scott. Sincerely, that's a good, fair point. And also that pompous assholes like you're talking about are the same ones that are on Rotten Tomatoes and on the blog sites. And every time you say I like a movie, they have to tell you how stupid you are for liking it. You know what? I'm gonna give them a piece of advice. They can go fuck themselves. I don't really care about your opinion. If you can't have we don't always agree. Hell, Justin and I never agree. But we can, at the end of the day, we realize, hey, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. I'm right. You realize that you're wrong at some point. we still walk away.
Still waiting for it.
We still walk away as friends. We can have that conversation and not sit there and try to tell each other what idiots they are. Well,
we do that over text.
Yeah, we do that over text.
You've also got those critics that want to throw that curveball into the mix of reviews. I remember when Toy Story 3 was released, everybody gave that movie glowing recommendations, positive reviews, except for this one guy that decided to do it to be the only one that didn't give it a positive review. Gave Toy Story 3 a negative review while giving movies like Jonah Hex positive reviews. and a lot of that is because they want to get hits on their site. Mm-hmm. And it really is the case. So they want people to go to the site to get the clicks and all these people to start conversation starters.
Absolutely. I can't argue it. Anything else, Justin? Anything before we wrap it up?
No, just, there's room for everything. I don't want every film being uber serious. I don't want every film being Oscar bait. There are days when I want to watch those films, and then there are days when I want to watch Blade 2. Why can't we all just allow for those things to exist? Just like some days I want to listen to a nice, Beethoven piece. Ode to Joy is one of my favorite pieces of music of all time. But then there's, those moments when I just want to put in a damn Flo Rida song. There is room enough in the world for us to enjoy all of these things in their own time and in their own way.
I couldn't agree more. One thing I would like to add before we wrap up is I want to see the day where they start recognizing very strong performances in popcorn flicks. Like the one I'm thinking off the top of my head is Michael Fassbender in Prometheus. I get it, it's a popcorn flick. That's never going to win an Oscar, whatever. His performance should have been nominated for a supporting Oscar, I think, because it was just so layered and textured and wonderfully done. But it'll never get appreciation because it's rolled up in a sci-fi alien flick.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and it's that genre nature that also works against it. For some reason, unless it's 2001, a sci-fi film or really a fantasy film gets short shrift all through Hollywood. I think that if they hadn't finally given Return of the King Best Picture, there would have been nerd rage through Hollywood, and some Vespa would have been tipped over and caught on fire.
That's true. All right, let's go to emails. Justin, you've got an email that just came in, actually. Breaking news. There you go.
Yeah, this one just came in. So, JC, good on you for getting it in here. He says, "Hey, hoes, when the Star Wars prequels came out, I was so excited, being 16 at the time. I was disappointed. Many years later, I rewatched them and disliked them even more, so much so that I wanted to delete them from memory. But you can't unwatch stuff, so I tried a new tack. Last summer, I tried to reimagine them just for fun. I won't bore you with what I came up with, but I was wondering if any of you guys have ever gotten really excited by a film's potential only to be let down. If so, how would you have fixed it? Justin, cough, Winkmander, cough. As always, you guys rock my Thursdays. Your fan, JC. P.S. I realize that this topic might be outside the boundaries of the show. If so, please disregard it, and you are wrong on that one. P.P.S. Benedict Cumberbatch."
You got props from me just for that. One movie that really let down. Real film's potential was really let down.
Well, with Wing Commander, I would have made the fucking game. I would have made the game. And how fucking Chris Roberts, who made the game and made the movie, did not make the game into a movie, I don't fucking know. But I would have made the game into the movie. I would have changed the fucking Kilrathi into some hairless rat-looking thing. I wouldn't have changed the ships, and I wouldn't have changed the characters' dynamics. Oh, I'm so fucking mad. They could just made the game into the movie.
And I wouldn't have got Freddie Prinze Jr.
No. Or fuck the blonde guy. I don't even want to remember his name right now. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Matthew Lillard.
Oh god. Don't even say his name.
He which will not be named.
Yes.
Mine's going to be odd because it's not the way he means it, but mine would be Serenity because of the marketing. I thought the marketing was handled very awful, and the way it was released was kind of awful, so therefore it didn't catch on, and I think everybody that's seen it is a fan of the film, but I was let down because the film's potential wasn't reached because it was released at a shitty time of year. The marketing was awful. Just the posters were awful. Everything about the marketing at that time I thought was awful.
John Carter, the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I granted that's not exactly what he's talking about, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'll try to think of something for next week. But good question.
I would say more recently, we just talked about Prometheus. That was
that's one.
My most anticipated movie last year, and I just felt completely let down by that movie. I think Paranormal Activity 4, with especially how much I liked the first three. Mm-hmm. I went into 4 expecting that. I went and paid the extra premium to go see it in IMAX.
I'll always thank you for that.
Yeah, and I mean it wasn't terrible. It's just not what I wanted from a Paranormal Activity movie. But I had to think about it to get some better answers.
And a couple emails we got late because we recorded early last week. Sex Drive, this is from Jesse M. I was totally taken by surprise by this movie. I was forced to watch it by my man-child brother-in-law and had zero expectation of liking it, but it was hilarious. Nice pick. Sorry we didn't get this in last week's show. Jesse recorded early, but bam, there it is. Also, I believe this film is called Sex Drive. Mark T. Thanks, Mark, for writing us. Sorry about the early recording. You nailed it. And one also from Andrew on Facebook. He wanted to say, what up? Just wanted to answer that what's this movie for this week. It is most definitely Sex Drive, one of my favorite underrated comedies. Also, I wanted to assign a movie to all of you over at The Hoe. I watched Seven Psychopaths over the weekend, and it is most definitely one of the best films of last year, in my opinion. So definitely check it out. Skull, Andrew. Assignment accepted, man. I will make a promise. We'll see if anybody else can make one.
I'm afraid to make one and yet break one.
Seven Psychopaths for next week. We'll review it. Scotty?
Yeah.
Justin?
I would like to see it. I've heard some really great things about it. I will try.
Okay, Brian promises.
I promise I'll watch this movie if my internet is working properly.
Brian's promising. Make sure you stay through the credits for outtakes, although I think the show had plenty of them. TheHollywoodOutsider.com is our website. Facebook.com/TheHollywoodOutsider. You can email us at feedback@TheHollywoodOutsider.com. Tell your friends, man. That's how we grow. Subscribe on iTunes, Zune, Google Reader. Listen on your Stitcher radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or any old RSS feed. As well as RockfordCollegeRadio.com, Thursdays from 4 to 6. I want to thank each of you for being here. Justin McCumber, author of Miner's Magic.
Fuck.
Of A Minor Magic, available now on Amazon, paperback, and Kindle. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. People really do seem to be liking A Minor Magic. I'm shocked at just how much people do seem to be liking it.
It's a great book, man. Everybody should have 5 copies.
I think so. I think so.
And Scott Clark, thanks for bringing the funny, man.
Hey, not a problem.
I'm proud of you.
I try once in a
while. You do a wonderful Southern accent. It's almost like you've been butt humped before.
Whoa.
I
don't know.
You squealed like a pig from time to time.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was going for. I know we've gone long, so we'll just end it. This is from all of us, including Brian. We hope everything turned out okay with you and your mobile home damage. The next time you guys go to a theater, buy popcorn.
Golding dogs, keep quiet!
Where the fuck did that come from?
I'll just throw only a couple outtakes.
Was that Scotty's pants zipper?
He said it a few weeks.
Please say that wasn't Scotty's pants zipper.
You shave it? You shave your pubes?
Oh, yeah, I got nothing down there.
Why?
There's really nothing like a...
Because I guess the tree looks bigger when there's no bush around.
What's in your mouth?
Who?
You.
Nothing.
Okay.
Your mom's clit. I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
Got nothing. Yeah. I had a good idea for a story, but I can't remember what it was.
That's what separates you from me. Well, that and a lot of talent. Bam!
This is the saddest podcast I've ever done. Go faster.
Dread sequel.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
I must not have been paying attention.
Shocker.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was going to. Zzz, zzz.
Every time you kept texting me tonight, Aaron, it kept saying that this is some fucked up shit. My wife was like, really? Really?
Yeah.
God, he types loud.
He does. He's an angry typer. Right now, he's probably typing out a joke for later. I'll get him here.
Hey, Aaron. Why I hate Aaron.
Volume 2.
Oh,
Yeah, you've already done volume 1. If you read
oh,
box,
and Aaron, you're a fuckstick because one of my listeners is now your listener. And all week long, every time I post something on Facebook, what is his post? Mama.
it is not.
I told him, you shut the fuck up. And he keeps doing it. It's pissing me off.
That's pretty funny.